welcome everybody to another week of the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show on the grueling truth for Week 9, which is a bye week. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and right now I want to welcome in former Cincinnati Bengals linebacker Joe Kelly. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good, Mike. Just got back from across the pond. Had a couple of ales, pubs, went to a couple pubs, and had a great time in London, and loved the city, and just had to witness a tie. So
yeah, and I'll tell you, you bring up the London thing, though, Joe. I think having to play a home game in London is complete utter bull crap.
It is what it is. I don't know what goes into deciding the teams that are going to play, or what goes in deciding which home team is going to give up their home game.
Well, I'll bet you anything, Joe, you'll never see the Green Bay Packers give up a home game in Lambeau to go to London.
Yeah, and they try to accommodate because we were the home team. So, the announcer was the bingo announcer. The game announcer. We had the home field advantage. They played it up as though. Everything that you heard or would hear in the jungle, you heard in Wembley Stadium. So if you can call that, home field advantage, they did the best they could do. But it was just it was interesting being at a game with 85,000 screaming of fans who pretty much screamed at everything. Mike, they screamed. They screamed on the first down. They screamed when when you gained 6 yards, 7 yards. Every pass played, they got up and yelled. It was great. It was totally awesome, man. It was an awesome experience. Wembley Stadium, Wembley Stadium could fare just as well as any stadium. In the United States, they have a great
my
stadium.
problem with it is, Joe, is you had a tie game, which if you put that here, it may not be a tie game, and you have 60,000 people who for the last 5 years have sold out every game, and you take away one of their home games. I just think it's unfair to the fans.
Yeah, and, like I said, I don't know what goes into deciding.
Money.
Obviously, Mike would have had to, Mike Brown, that is, would have had to agreed to playing over there, and I think there it seemed to be an actual strong fan base, UK fan base. Bengals. We actually went to a pub that was an actual bingo pub. So like today, we were there today, and there's no game, but that pub has all the bingo paraphernalia, and the majority of the people that go there are actual diehard bingo fans. So that was
any pictures of Joe Kelly at the bar?
Not quite. I didn't see.
There should be now, though, Joe. You were there. You should have had him take a picture.
Yeah, I was there, man. I made I showed up and was there with Dave Lapham and Anthony Munoz and Kenny Anderson. So it was electric, man. It was. The city was they were a great host, but like you said, you go across for home game, and you're leaving your familiar grounds, you're leaving your fan base, so it is you are giving up a lot, but like I said, there more than likely there had to be some monetary compensation given in order to give up a home game.
Yeah, so we get to the game, ends up in a tie. Bengals had chances to win it. Redskins had chances to win it. My big takeaway were two things. Number one, on defense, we're just not very good, Joe. The defensive line is not even good. I think you had Geno Atkins with one sack. Other than that, Kirk Cousins stood there and just picked the Bengals apart.
It was awful. It was god-awful from a defensive perspective. Being a defensive guy, you're sitting back and you let Kirk Cousins pick us apart like he was Tom Brady. He stood there. Pass rush, Mike. What's that? I don't think there was any resemblance to last year's guys. My honest opinion, man. I'm looking at the schemes. I'm looking at what they're doing, and Gunther is calling plays. Mike, he's you're doing some zone blitzes, but when you're not getting pass rush, why am I going to drop back my $70 million defensive end on a consistent basis?
It seems like Michael Johnson was in pass coverage half the damn game.
And if you looked at the game, if you're a defensive guy, the offensive guys may be looking at different stuff. I'm looking at the game. I'm looking at Dunlap, and I'm looking at him looking over at the sideline. I knew when he was when he was dropping in the pass in the passing zone. He would look to the sideline, and I just see his hands, both his arms wailing up and flailing out, like a kid having a tantrum. And I knew that. I said, I know Washington is damn looking at him because they know that he's about to drop back in a pass coverage. I'm literally, Mike, at least there were 7 different instances where I looked at Dunlap, I looked at his demeanor and how he did, and I knew he was, dropping back in the pass coverage. Same thing with Michael Johnson. He wasn't as animated, but you're putting those guys. You're putting those guys in space. Those kind of guys are not good in space. LeBeau had, the zone blitzes, but it was like here, we're all up in the line. You don't know who's going to, for instance, if it's a defensive end and you're usually going to zone blitz with a linebacker. But you're zone blitzing and both guys are not attacking. So when we had a zone blitz, for instance, I as an inside linebacker, I would come over to guard and defensive tackle. So we would both engage the guard. So whichever one that he picks would literally grab the guy, and let the other guy rush, and then we would delay and drop right in the middle of the field. He has those guys literally pass rushing, and those guys are covering the flats.
Yeah, they drop immediately.
Yeah, so.
And the problem with that is you end up free releasing those tight ends, and both of them killed. We made Vernon Davis look like he was 25 again.
Oh my God, I'm sitting there, and once again, 3-4 plays a game. Our defense, we're giving away plays and passes where these guys are running wide open, no touch. I just think I'm telling you, I'm looking at the defense. Gunther is putting those guys in bad situations. Mike, that's the same D-line. We got the same D-line.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the other big problem is just the linebackers. I mean, Dansby and Ray got burnt in coverage all day. Maliuga, when he was in the game, would almost be taken out immediately, it looked like, because he'd screw something up. And DB-wise, again, Sean Williams, even George Iloka was out of position a fair amount of times.
Mike, I said our safety's been out of position, all game. I was happy with the aggressiveness of 36. I thought he finally showed the aggressiveness that he has shown the last couple of years. But once again, these guys were just totally blowing coverages, guys running down on the field. And it sort of looked to me, we had really good seats, that the footing, we didn't have the proper shoes on. So I don't know, the equipment guy, hey, you guys good. You see your guys falling down. Kirkpatrick's falling down. Pac-Man was falling down. Iloka, they were falling down when they're making cuts. And grass, you had patches of grass coming up, and literally during the TV timeout, they would have at least, I want to say 30 people, dressed up, and they would tend to the fields. So I know that there was something definitely wrong with the grass, the footing on the grass, but it was the same for Washington. So it wasn't an excuse that the footing was bad for us. It was the same way for Redskins. But as I look back on the game, Mike, we were trying to do any and everything to lose the game.
Yeah.
Mike, in this day and age, man, you got to make an extra point, Mike.
Yep, and he also missed a field goal in the game.
Yeah, they missed the field goal, but the extra point. You make the extra point, Washington doesn't kick that last field goal to tie it. They have to go in and score.
Yeah, and it would have been 4th and 15 on like the 35 with no timeouts left and 40 seconds.
Yeah. So you had to go score a touchdown. So, you have that, and, I knew when that happened, I said that is going to come back and that's going to bite us. And it did. There were some calls, that I didn't, the quarterback sneak, was a blatant face mask.
Face mask, but you got to hold on to the ball.
You have to hold on to the ball. But you're running a quarterback sneak, so get down. You're a quarterback.
Yeah. They needed half a yard. Get the half a yard and let it go.
Get it and get down. There was no need for him to put the ball over and, like you try to reach it over for if you're on the goal line. You hold the ball and the guy just came in, put his helmet right on the ball. But it was just, it was unbelievable. It was, we were going in, they were going in, and I knew the game was over, and I knew that was a chip shot, and we pretty much were about to head out our seats, and wow, they missed the field goal.
Yeah, and the Bengals had the ball, twice around the 50-yard line to start a drive and couldn't get a field goal in the overtime.
Yeah.
Offensively wasn't the problem, though. We talked a little bit off air about it, but Tyler Eifert makes a huge difference on this team.
Oh, man, Mike, there's no doubt. There's no doubt that that guy is one and will be one of the best tight ends in the league. He made that big of an impact in this game. You see the guy's totally healthy. Offensively, we ran the ball well. When Andy wasn't running for his life. And for some reason, Mike, you're a coach, you've been a head coach. For some reason, I cannot for the life of me understand it. Hey, you have number 70 in, and he is getting beat like he stole something.
Oh, my God. And they didn't even replace him this week.
Yes, they did. Mike, they took him
did?
out.
I don't even remember saying it, but then didn't they bring him back?
Yeah, Mike, they took him out. And when they took him out, we drove down the field. Mike, you know where they put him? You remember the crucial time we were driving and Andy got sacked?
Yeah.
We're driving now. They put Brady back in the game. Guess whose man?
It was his man. He ran right around him.
Mike, they would take him out. He was still on the sideline. Literally, second quarter, he didn't play. We're moving the ball. They put him back in. It would be like, here, Winston. I'm looking at Winston. And I'm like, thank God you got Winston in. So, hey, we're moving. We're opening up some holes. Our running backs are getting some yards. Andy is having some time to sit in the pocket a little bit. You put 70 back in. And I'm not about, really ruining anybody's career in there because it's hard.
But if you're not getting the job done.
Mike, I'm not even talking about a guy not getting the job done. I'm talking about worse than that. I don't even to what I see, he is not even NFL caliber.
No, he doesn't even kick step well.
Mike, he does nothing well.
I know. His hands are terrible. He's slow.
No effort. My thing is, get your ass kicked, giving me 100%, and I can ride with you. Mike, the guy, he's getting beat, and he just turns around and is like, oh, well, go back and hit somebody else.
So that brings us to this. I got a guy by the name of Tom Yoder that sent an email today, had a question. And his question is the status of Marvin Lewis, number one, which I think is on a lot of people's minds, just last 13 years, no playoff wins and everything. But his question that entered his mind is how long will A.J. Green, who is one of the best wide receivers in football, continue to be quiet while wasting his talent on a team that refuses to try to win or compete for a Super Bowl?
Well, with that, that was a two-part question. Definitely the way we're going right now, defensively, there has to be like some huge something, get together in the locker room and discover something that's going on, because there definitely has to be 100% turnaround.
And the question I have for that, before we get to the second question, is do they have the players to turn it around?
Mike, no doubt. I don't question the.
Well, see, I don't question the starters. I question the depth on this team. And a lot of that comes from losing Andrew Billings, who I think would have been a huge addition to the defensive line, losing William Jackson, the cornerback, losing both in preseason. So my question is not if the starters are, because we all know in the NFL, if you're not deep at positions like the Bengals were last year, Sean Williams is a really good backup safety. When you got to play him all the time as your starter, though, it seems like he has problems.
Yeah.
You also lost what I think was the quarterback of the defense in Reggie Nelson, which is why I think the safeties are having so much trouble.
Yeah.
So my question is, can you turn something around if you don't have the depth there?
Well, my thing is here, physically, if everybody's healthy, if everybody stays healthy, obviously anybody gets hurt, no, there will be no turning around whatsoever. If everybody stays healthy, I think there's a chance, because you have to understand, when you're getting beat, a la Cleveland Browns, you're getting beat because you are not that good. You do not have the personnel. You do not have the starting personnel to even be able to compete with the top-tier teams. We have the personnel. Our guys are not just, getting physically whooped. Our guys are not getting off blocks. Our safeties are dropping in the wrong areas.
But also they're missing a ton of tackles.
Yes. So those are things that can be corrected, Mike. If you just got a guy, a corner that is just not good enough to compete with an A.J. Green, he's not good enough. Doesn't mean if he can tackle better, he can study more, he can not blow assignments, he's still going to get beat. We have the personnel.
Yeah, but a lot of times, Joe, isn't tackling just how bad you want it?
It's how bad you want it, Mike. But it's still preparation. It's still you're going out and with how different you are. Training camps are. Guys are not tackling. Burfict's been out all preseason. Not the first three games, so he's not totally in shape. Our guys. I think our guys are living off the laurels of last year. They're playing.
Well, I think they're living off the laurels of the last 5 years, and it's not the same team. I don't see this team as being as talented as those teams, which means this team cannot win games by making stupid mistakes. I mean, they may. Yeah. I mean, there's so many. Was it Pecco grabbing a guy by the leg and flipping him up? I mean, come on, it's stupid.
Yeah. So
last year they probably get away with it and win the game anyways. But you're not going to get away with it when your talent's not as great.
We're not. The thing with Marvin, I think it's going to play itself out one way or the other. I think it's going to be, that obvious because the way they're playing right now, you go out, you win a game, you lose a game. Well, that way we're gonna find ourselves, 8-7-1, and we're going to find ourselves out of the playoffs. So I think it is going to be a foregone conclusion that Marvin is gone.
Well, I think this, Joe. I think this goes one of two ways. I think they fix the stuff on the bye week. They come back, and with their offense, the rest of their schedules at the Giants, the Bills here, the Ravens there, the Eagles here, Browns there, Steelers here, Texans. You get the Ravens. I mean, these are all teams that the Bengals can beat. But when you look at it, they're all teams they could lose to. So I think this team comes out, they beat the Giants, they get on a run, and they win the division, or they lose to the Giants, and this gets really ugly.
Yeah. It's going to be, I think as far as, we're talking about coach, I think it's going to play itself out. If you get in and your team is still consistent in week 12, I would see Marvin being gone next year. You guys, you turn this thing around, you get back in the playoffs because and we're healthy. We have the personnel. I think Burfict, once he gets a couple more games on his belt, he's going to get in better shape. I think they've the rookie linebacker. I seen him get some snaps.
Nick Vigil.
And I think we're struggling identity-wise of what to do. Vinny Ray played a lot. but we're struggling. We're struggling in that nickel package. Taking that linebacker out, bringing Vinny Ray in, and taking two of the linebackers out, and bringing Josh Norman in. So we're kind of struggling, right now, and things can get better. I've seen, teams and defensive, the scheme, because it's different. You're calling different things. There's different schemes. The language is different, and guys right now are still struggling with it. So hopefully the second half of the season, they can get comfortable with the calls. And Gunther can actually let you have literally close to $150 million on that defensive line.
Yeah, you got to let them go eat at some point.
Yeah, let them go eat. Let them go eat. Because if your linebackers and your safeties and your corners and nickel corners cannot bring their play up, we're not going to get to playoffs with Carlos Dunlap dropping and Michael Johnson dropping.
My question
That's
is
not
this:
fool anybody.
Do you think there's any way Gunther does that because he knows they're better than Ray Maluga in coverage?
As bad as Ray and Dansby have been, you still got D-line. I can see every now and then when you punch a interior D-line and he engages the one of the interior linemen, and then he jumps back real quick. And, here the tight end, the quarterback is seeing how the tight end's right open over the middle or run back, and that guy drops off and dies. You throw it right to the defensive lineman. But I don't see any advantage of dropping this defensive end who's not engaging, not altering the tight end's routes, and he's just running out there in space. Terrible lateral movement ability, and you think he's going to be effective, or you think that Cousins is not picking it up. Cousins is picking it up. But I don't know. Did he have 500 yards on us?
He was close to it if he wasn't.
Yeah. So, obviously they have a bye week. Thank God for the bye week. And
yeah, this is the perfect time for the bye week.
Yeah. So Gunther, he can look back and let's get down back to the basics. Let's get down to do what we do best. Because Carlos Dunlap did not forget how to pass rush. Gene Atkins did not forget how to pass rush.
Yeah, I mean, Dunlap to me is one of the three best pass rushers in football. I mean, you need to let him go after the quarterback.
Let him go let him go all game. I like our chances with him against any tackle the entire game.
Yeah.
Let him go at it. But then here instead of your zone blitzing, you are getting no pass rush, zero. So hey man, let's come. We got to try something. You got to have some kahunas. You got to try. Hey man, let's go.
That seemed to be the only blitz that you saw pretty much the whole game was Murphy going through the A gap.
Yeah, and that was pretty much telegraphed. That was pretty much. I can actually hear Cousins calling 55 out. 55.
Yeah, because
55,
he would show it. He would line up right in the A gap.
Yeah, so you could hear it, and like I said, it's unfortunate. I knew, from my perspective, when Dunlap and those guys, the defensive ends, were dropping. I knew the Redskins knew, so you take advantage of that, and I think they did.
Yeah, and I think offensively, if you just put Winston in all the time instead of Cedric Ogbuehi or whatever the hell his name is, I think that would solve a lot of the offensive problems.
It would solve the problem. We're still weak at center because he was getting beat pretty good.
He's terrible.
But
Whitworth's good. Zeitler's good. I'm not a big fan of Bowling, but he's not nearly as bad as Bodine and Ogbuehi.
With Winston in, our offense can score, to me, at least close to 30 points every game against.
And Joe, the thing that seems to me is every week that happens.
Yeah.
Winston comes in, they move the ball. For some reason, they take him out and put the guy that they're paying all the money to back in. It gets blown up. Then they have to go back to Winston. I mean, I don't know why you just don't go with the best player and quit worrying about who made the most money and who got picked in the first round.
I don't know where Fisher is. What are you doing? Because Fisher
got hurt earlier in the season, I think, Joe.
Is he hurt? Is he still
hurt
on the active squad? Is he hurt? Okay. Because I'm like, where is this guy? Why aren't you using him? So it's tough, man. It's tough. Being a Bengal fan right now, man. They had great support. I know I heard there was close to 10,000 Bengal fans that came over, for the game. So it's just as a Bengal fan, it's right now. Back in the '90s, we knew we weren't that good. So you went and you hoped and you wished, just like if you're a Cleveland Brown fan now. The tough point right now is that, Mike, we are still pretty good.
Yeah, we're game out.
To win our division, to make the playoffs, and to make a legitimate run. Still don't think that we're that bad. Well, if we get it together, that if we had to go up to New England and play New England in the AFC Championship, I would still go into that game, and I'm dead serious. I still would go in that game saying we have a chance. We have a chance. If our D-line does what they need to do, our safeties are in the right place, covering that seam, with Gronkowski. You're giving our linebackers help over the top, on top of Gronkowski, that we can go out and our offense with Eifert could move the ball and keep Tom Brady on the sideline.
Yeah, but see, the problem is when you play New England, the one thing I noticed last night, the Bengals got a ton of pressure on him in the first half. In the second half, New England adjusted. They started throwing the little quick outs, the quick over to middles to him, where you couldn't really get the safety down there in time, and you had to have Dansby or Maliuga cover him. And when they do that, it's hard to cover him because you got to remember on the other side at tight end, you got Martellus Bennett.
And Mike, as a coach, Mike, when you see that, well, hey, what we did in the first half, hey, you guys, they're not just going to sit back and continue to let us, pass rush and get to them. They're going to change. So, Mike, as a player, knowing that you're playing New England, knowing that Belichick is on the other side, as a coach, I'm going to go say, hey, look, we're going to, because I know they're going to adjust. So this is what's been working for us. So we may continue to try and do that, but I'm telling you, they're going to start getting some short routes, to try and get Tom back in the groove of the game, get Gronkowski in there and do this. So you adapt. So you change.
Yeah, but see, the thing that I didn't understand in that game is you talk about the zone blitzes. They didn't use it that much. In the second half, when they're throwing the short stuff constantly to those guys because they're worried about your pass rush, that would have been the time to do that.
Yeah, Mike. Mike, and those guys are getting paid the big bucks, buddy. I'm sitting in the man cave, and I'm looking at from the game in the stands like, Gunther, what are you doing? This is what these guys are doing. Adjust. It's tough. You got your safeties are lining up at 20 yards deep, and they're, you got to try and get them, drop one safety down, to play the intermediate routes. But it's just tough, man. It's tough when you know something about football, and you're not just watching as a fan. I'm trying to watch as a fan, but when you're knowing, what the offense, the changes that the offense did, what they changed at halftime.
Yeah, and to watch the Bengals go through the entire second half and never do anything different is mind-blowing to me.
It is mind-boggling.
It was kind of like in the mid-2000s watching Bob Bradkowski call offense.
Wow, you remember that?
I remember that. I used to be able to sit there with my wife and guess like 80% of the plays that were going to run before he ran them. Yeah. So it's tough. It's tough because, I still think Andy's one of the top quarterbacks. It's tough when you got a Jeremy Hill and a Giovanni Bernard. Yeah, but if you don't have blocking in front of them, they're not going to be as good.
Yeah, and like I said, when you take a Brady out and you put Winston in, we're moving. You look at what we did, the first downs. You look at the balance. You look at the run game. Look at our pass game. The things that we're doing now. We're going back up the seam. We weren't able to do that because our tight ends talent-wise, didn't have the capability of doing
and really offensively, Joe, it seems to me like Andy is pretty much just depending on A.J., and, I mean, he almost gets picked twice a game because of that. And I think at some point he's going to have to trust a Tyler Boyd or a James Wright or Brandon LaFell even more if this offense is really going to get to a point where they can be a contender.
And I was looking at, there was maybe about four times where Norman should have had an interception.
Yeah, where Dalton just locked on and he was throwing it there no matter what. And to me, Dalton is a quarterback that can read the defense. You'll see him last year. You'd see him go through 3 or 4 reads before he'd throw the ball. It seems like that's not as prevalent this year, just because I don't think he trusts too many of the other guys.
Yeah, and I think this was a good game for him. I think this was a good game having Eifert back and knowing that he has his option. But I'm looking at LaFell, and I'm expecting more from LaFell being a veteran guy. And you're running down the field. You're not looking back at passes. You're running the wrong route. So you look at Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd is doing a lot. He's running some good routes. But those are times where he's not getting that good route from LaFell. And LaFell, I've seen LaFell this last game run some wrong routes. Do some wrong reads.
Where they end up close to each other, and you're not able to throw the ball to either one.
Yeah, and one time he just threw it, and LaFell had no idea that he was throwing the ball to him. So you're looking at that, and Andy did telegraph to AJ a couple times, and that almost hurt him. But he also shorted. He short-armed a couple balls because both of those long pass plays. Had he thrown the ball, had he led A.J. Green,
they had a touchdown. Both of
those, they would have been a touchdown. I'm on one end of the field. I'm right down there, and A.J. literally had to slow down and almost stopped, both times. Had he just thrown and led him, they would.
I can tell you this too, though, Joe, as a quarterback, when you're back there, if you don't trust your offensive line too much, a lot of times you'll throw a ball a little bit sooner than what you want to.
Yeah.
With not as much zest or zip on it as it should have, just because you're trying to get it out there before you get hammered. And, Dalton gets hit a lot. Dalton's been hit more probably. Last year I think he was only sacked 17 or 20 times the entire year. He's already at that halfway through the season.
Right.
So, you've got to protect the quarterback.
And I guarantee you more than half are attributed to number 70.
Yeah.
Period. So
and you know what? Probably another third of those are attributed to the guy trying to help number 70.
Yes. So it's tough. And my thing is here, if you're really about winning, and you have a guy that's not out there playing, you look at Belichick, and the system. Those guys. They just traded another linebacker to Cleveland.
Yeah, because the guy wanted more money in the middle of the season.
Yeah, and look, he filled in another guy, and they don't miss a beat.
And you know what that'll cure? Nobody else is going into Belichick's office to ask for more money.
All right, unless your name is Tom.
Or you got to go to Cleveland, and nobody wants that.
Yeah.
He goes from a team that may not lose another game to a team that may not win another game.
Right. So it's tough, but it is what it is, and you're on a team like New England, and it's the next guy up attitude, and now with the Bengals, it's not the next guy up. The next guy is not confident enough to come in. Our depth is not, and I just can't imagine that it's not. It's not just the players, because some of the guys that Belichick has, those system guys, these guys, they wouldn't start on our team, but they do well within the system.
Yeah, he gets the right guy. It's like going out to get Jimmy Garoppolo. You plug him in, he looks like Tom Brady.
Right. And you're putting those guys in chances, and good chances to win and be successful. With Gunther, I'm looking at Gunther. You're not putting your guys in good positions. They are by alignment. You have me. I'm a middle linebacker. I'm a nickel linebacker. By alignment, before the ball snaps, you have me lining up over the center. But you have me covering a tailback who's offset.
Yeah,
so
right
up by alignment, I'm already beat to the flats by alignment.
Yeah, and that guy's faster than you to begin with.
To begin with. So I'm saying there's a lot of times, if you're looking at the defensive schemes, we are already beat by alignment. There were so many times where the Redskins had 3 wide receivers, and we had 1 guy over there, 2 guys over there. They even lined up one time. We had to hurry up and use a timeout. They're lined up, and Garzon was over there by himself.
Yeah.
Yes. So you got your guys are. I'm telling you, Mike, they're not in sync with the defense. So whatever Gunther's, the changes that he's made, those guys are not getting it. If it's the language, because language changes, when defensive changes, but whatever it is, they're not getting it because you find us by alignment already out of position.
Or he's one of those coaches that wants to run his system, and he doesn't worry about finding the right players. He's going to run his system either way.
I'm going to run it my way.
And that's the way I take it.
My way to the highway. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and guys like that usually get fired pretty quick.
Yeah, and you see, that's why we're 3-4-1. At the halfway point.
Yeah, and we're lucky to be that. Really, I mean, we've beaten 3 bad teams to get the 3 wins.
Yeah. So it's
but
tough.
All right, we'll go ahead and wrap this up this week and come back next week and talk about the Bengals getting ready to beat the Giants and turn this around.
Yeah, good thing we don't have to make a pick, Mike.
Well, I mean, right now, make a pick. Bengals are the bye week this week, Joe.
No, the bye week. I'm going with the bye week.
You going with the bye? I'm going to go with a tie.
Yeah.
Ties are stupid. That's for soccer. But
yeah.
Especially when you go all the way to London, England. But all right, Joe, so we'll see everybody back next week for the Bengals Weekly Show. We'll be previewing the New York Giants and maybe have a special guest for you guys also. So make sure you check out The Grueling Truth at thegruelingtruth.net. Check out all of our interviews with former Bengals, former NFL Hall of Famers, Pro Bowlers. Also check out our other team shows. We got team shows with Dwight Stone and the Pittsburgh Steelers, Tony Hunter and the Los Angeles Rams, which actually this week Tony's guest will be former 1969 NFL MVP Roman Gabriel, who was the quarterback for the Rams that year. So Roman will be on the show with the Rams. Dexter Carter will be here with the 49ers show. And then Joe Pritchard will have the Green Bay Packers show. But for Joe Kelly, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.